Welcome to City of Keene in Focus. Thanks so much for listening. Hello, and welcome to our next episode of City of Keene in Focus. My name is Asa Kramer, and I am joined today by Andrew Mueller, who is our IT director, and we'll be joined in a little bit by Elizabeth Furland, who's our city manager. Hi, Andrew. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I hear that today is a special day for you, Andrew.
Yeah, it's my 20th anniversary here at the City of Keene. I just realized that this morning.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
Wow.
It went fast.
2 decades. That's amazing.
It
Congratulations.
goes really fast.
Tell us a little bit about your time with the city. Did you start in IT?
I did. I actually started when the police station first moved down to Marlborough Street. I started down there as a support person for police and public works, a system administrator.
Whoa, okay.
And it was fun. Spent about a year or so maybe down there, and then I got moved up to City Hall and still supported the police and public works and everybody else, but I always had a special heart for all the police officers that I met back then, and now they're all like the chief and the captain, but at the time they were patrol guys or whatever. So yeah, it was a fun time, and being a sysadmin was great. I had an opportunity to become the assistant director a bunch of years ago, and I was lucky enough to get that, and then I don't know, 3-4 years ago now I became the director. So it's funny how things work.
Awesome. Very cool.
It's crazy because I've worked for other companies and they all have a finance department or an HR department. But like this is the only company that you work for that has like a wastewater treatment plant and an airport. So the IT needs, you're really like supporting like 13, 14 different companies.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
And so you can't train for it. It's like, all right, I'll learn this as I go. And so that's what you do. I've never done IT for a transfer station or for an airport, or for a fire department or police department. So yeah, it's been interesting for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can imagine that the needs of, for example, as you say, a police department are very particular.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And not something you get when you're working for the private sector.
So we've just been joined by Elizabeth Furland, our city manager. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, guys. How are you on this Friday afternoon?
I know, this rainy Friday.
Yeah.
We've been talking IT. Andrew was telling us about his journey with the city.
20 years. That's really quite the accomplishment.
Didn't know that I'd make it this long. It's been great.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
It actually went faster than you would think.
I know
or than
it
I
does.
would think.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah.
We're very lucky to have you.
Appreciate that.
So one of the things I wanted you to talk a little bit about today is just sort of like behind the scenes, all the work that goes into keeping us all safe.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. So besides the support aspect of supporting the apps and the people. Yeah, the whole security portion of this is something that's really taken flight in the last 5 or 6 years and become more and more kind of shoved to the forefront. It's a lot of work, and it's not just keeping the bad guys out, through hardware and that sort of stuff. It's also making sure our users are trained, and there's a lot that goes to it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I love that you do, and honestly, I think it's helped the organization a great deal, is the tests that you do, the little tests to see if someone's going to take the bait and click on something.
Yeah, about every 3 weeks, we send out what's called phishing campaigns through a vendor, and we don't even know, like we get them ourselves in IT. So, and then we get a report about who clicked on them and who doesn't. I will not name names, but I did just send an email to someone who I've known for 20 years.
Oh boy.
Yeah, with a screenshot of, you're the one person that like didn't
Clicked
do well on
it?
this. And I just wrote like, dude, with a, come on. And he was like, don't tell anybody. I'm sorry. I'll take training.
Don't get my name out.
But it's great. It keeps people sort of vigilant, and it lets them know that the bad guys are getting better at fooling us.
They really are.
Yeah, with AI, like the grammar issues that we used to be able to rely on, the Nigerian prints, those are all gone. It's tough to be a user out there, so we just try to keep healthy paranoia.
I used to tease our now retired city attorney, Tom Mullins, because he would get caught on those fish attacks. But he got a lot better, I would say, before he retired.
For
it was
sure.
because of your training.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
I'm fairly certain it was.
The issue, too, is someone like the city attorney and all our department heads, I mean, they're targets. So they have to get good at this stuff, whether they want to or not.
Last week or the week before, there was one that came in, and this one actually was real. It wasn't a fake attack at all, but there was an email that was sent to the mayor. Supposedly, this email from me, below it saying, that all this stuff that I needed to have happen.
Yeah.
And he sent it to me and he was like, I'm not sure what you mean about this, Elizabeth, or something like that. And I was like, oh, God, no, that's an attack.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
for
real.
sure. Again,
Yeah.
more sophistication. It's getting tougher and tougher, but there's definitely some telltale signs if you take a minute to look at it, and that's kind of what we try to preach is just,
Yeah.
don't be in such a hurry if you can. Our users we're doing great. We're above industry average in a good way for not clicking on things. That's the key. You've probably heard me say this. It doesn't matter how many defenses you put up. If
Right.
your users are leaving the door open, they can walk right in. So
That's right.
yeah, part of that's training.
And one of the things you've taught me is if I'm not sure about something, don't click, go to the actual website and see if it's
Yeah.
real or not. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something like people should do in their personal life as well. It's not just here,
Exactly.
I mean, definitely here at work, but also in their personal life. People are so quick to sort of trust an email, and it should be the exact opposite.
We've seen, unfortunately, some of the smaller towns around us or in New Hampshire be subject to some of those attacks, and it's really created havoc for them. I know one town actually lost quite a bit of money, and then another, and I think they were held hostage for a while.
Schools,
Yeah.
local schools as well,
Schools, yeah. You don't have to give away any secrets,
yeah,
but
fair.
can you talk a little bit about, while you feel pretty good, I mean, it's never 100%, but the work that IT has done to
Yeah.
protect us from those types of things?
Yeah, definitely not giving away too much. What the security community preaches is sort of security in layers, and so we've definitely taken that approach. And so we've built things from the ground up. So the idea is, you start with, well, if they can get in, make sure they can't do anything, right? I kind of equate it to like if somebody breaks into your house, make sure they can't leave that room that they broke in, right? So we kind of have that approach with different things that we do internally. And then we have that big guard dog that we have on the outside, a security appliance that kind of alerts us if things are going on, and firewalls and all that sort of stuff. And then once we have everything in place, we self-audit ourselves as well as we hire outside groups to then kind of test our defenses. And that's always a little tough on the ego. When the professional, the white hat hackers, they're called, the ethical hackers come in, and I mean, they can get into anything. And so they get into your network and your organization, and they tell you how they did it, and then you decide what's feasible to fix financially and what else and where the risks are, and you make those changes. So we're
Yeah.
constantly doing that, and then we're constantly sort of attacking ourselves. Maybe once every 2-3 months, we kind of run a internal penetration test and
Yeah.
see. So we're constantly trying to tweak things and keep up with the trends and all the new stuff, because the bad guys are using all the cool tools that
Right.
we're all using. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's a full-time job.
Yeah. And when you're not thinking about security, you are thinking about our technology. I heard you guys talking a little bit when I came in about how it's changed and it continues to change. And so there's always a lot of work for IT when we bring on a new software and we say, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to save us all this time. But we don't really talk about all the work that has to happen
Yeah.
in IT to make it actually work for us.
Yeah, I appreciate you even just saying that. That's great. Yeah, especially with this push towards the cloud. And
Yes.
people just think, well, it's in the cloud, so everything's going to be great. And that may be the case eventually, but there's a lot of work to get things there. There's a lot of work to sort of make sure that things are still secure, that there's a connection, there's a connectivity to the clouds. And things have changed. When I first started here, our server room had giant machines all in it, and now it can be fit into small little pizza boxes. And, there was no talk of the cloud back then. And so,
Yeah.
and keeping up with that, and then also weighing what makes sense financially for
Yeah.
the organization, trying to get out the crystal ball and saying, this is how it's going to be in a couple of years, which, 50-50 on half those guesses, right?
Yeah.
Technology changes so quick. So it's also what kind of keeps things interesting and a little stressful.
Yes, yes.
But I think that's one of the reasons why I've been here so long, is I've been surrounded by decision makers that understand enough of what's going on to know that, it's a best effort, and we're doing as good as we can. And most of the time we get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a superb team here at the city. Behind the scenes,
Yeah.
you guys are the unsung heroes. You're
Yeah.
keeping us safe.
Yeah, we try to.
You're keeping us operating, and you're helping us do the things we want to do.
Yeah.
And so IT
Thank
really
you.
has
Yeah.
a really important job.
Yeah, and just real quick, if I can circle back to my team, because if you think of us like a NASCAR team, like Deb's definitely the driver, who's our help desk person. There's a whole group behind her that does a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm really grateful. We're very stable. We've all been around for a bunch of years. Nobody's going anywhere anytime soon, so it's nice to have this much talent in a very stable environment. It's really helped Keene throughout the years, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, I'll just mention that the team is so friendly and approachable. Like, I know IT, at least from my experience, it can seem a little overwhelming. And I'm like, I don't know what the problem is with this software or this hardware. Your team never makes it seem scary. It's very relatable. They're really friendly, and they're super funny, too. It's a really fun team.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, definitely. And there's some fun, unique personalities in there as well. Yeah, I mean, we just happen to know something, a very specific thing that other people know their specific things. So, like, ask us anything, ask us questions. Yeah, we're here to help. So.
And I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than when your computer goes down and you've got to have something in the next hour or so. I know I start with help desk. I'm like, Deb, help me. Why is my computer black? It will not turn on.
Yeah. And I have to say, being in the business as long as I have, which is way too long, the days of like going up to a user and just turning on the power on their monitor, like our user base is much smarter than that and more sophisticated, which is nice.
We've tried it all.
Yeah, right. You guys do a lot before you call us, so it's never usually something as easy as the old days, you know. Yeah.
Reboot, right?
Yeah,
it's always
exactly.
reboot.
Yeah.
Have you rebooted?
That's the old IT answer.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much, Andrew, for coming on today.
Excellent. Yeah,
really
thanks.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your work that you do for the city and your long tenure. We really appreciate that.
Happy
Right.
20 years.
Yeah. Going out celebrating tonight.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, guys.
So, last night was a pretty quick meeting,
Yeah, about an hour.
but it was a good meeting.
It was.
Yeah, we have a vote on the capital plan. That's
Yay.
really exciting. Obviously, that was the highlight of the night for me because that's a project that we work on for really starting in the summer. The departments start to update their projects, look to the future, what projects are coming down the road, and then we start to go through it internally and then putting it all together in the form that we finally present it to the council. And it's a lot. It's definitely a lot of information. And it was funny. Actually, Council Rettle Miller last night said something that really struck home with me because I totally agree, and I've seen it so many times, is we tend to get stuck on one item. One item will get a lot of attention. And this year, it was the bathroom conversation that got a lot of attention. But there are a lot of projects in the capital plan, both coming up in the very near future and projects that are further out, 6-7 years and beyond in the appendix. And so it's really important to have these conversations to make sure that the projects that we are doing are in line with what the community really wants. And most of them, they're just infrastructure, and you got to take care of your infrastructure and how you plan that, whether it's water, sewer underground or roads above the surface or buildings. Those are things that we know we just have to continue to maintain. But there are also things in there like park projects that are coming forward. The Robin Hood Park is the next big park project that we have. And then the plans to eventually do something with Station 2 out in West Keene and how that's evolved. So in the last plan, we were planning to do either a modified fire station at its current location or a new fire station at its current location. And now that's shifted because during our conversations with the hospital, we were able to come up with an agreement as part of their payment in lieu of taxes agreement to have a piece of property out on Maple Ave to build a new fire station someday for West Keene. And that's really good news for us because it was going to be extremely difficult to build a fire station at the current location and continue to operate. And so no matter what we did, if we did it at that location, it was going to be hard to maintain operations in that part of the city. So now we have the opportunity to go back and look at what that design will look like on this new parcel. And so there'll be a lot of work over the next several years to try to come up with not only a plan, a design, but also a funding source, because we haven't been able to find a funding source for the fire station. I've seen some of the smaller communities get money for equipment or public safety buildings, but we haven't been able to. And some of those programs are for smaller communities under 20,000 people. Our population is more than 20,000, just barely. So we are excluded from some of those other grants. And so we're not giving up. We're looking for funding sources. And Every time we talk to our federal delegation, we talk about the need to build a new fire station. And emergency service is something that is typically supported through grant programs. And so I'm optimistic we'll find some grant that will help us move that project forward. And when we do, we'll start to have, the design conversations of what it's going to look like to service into the future. So the capital plan is on our website, and I do encourage everyone to go to our website. It's on the finance department page. We have lots of financial documents there. The budget is there. The capital plans are there. And there's a ton of information. And if you go there and take a look at it and you say, I'd like to learn more about this, please feel free to reach out. We'll make sure you get the information that you need and you're able to ask the questions that you have and give us your suggestions. We are always open to that. So we have a capital plan.
Hooray.
I know. But now it's really just the start.
Yeah.
So once the capital plan is complete, we move right into the operating budget process. And last night we went over the schedule. So I have to have a budget complete and printed by May 1st so that it goes into the council's mailboxes, which May 1st is a Friday. We have to give ourselves a little bit of time to get it to the printer, although it's gotten better. It used to be we needed 2 weeks to get it to the printer before our deadline, and now we really only need maybe half a week, a few days. So that's definitely been an improvement. But after it gets to the council, then it starts to go through the review process at the finance committee. The finance committee is going to be having special meetings to review the budget. So it's really important if you want to follow along, or you can follow along just watching the video. But if you want to participate in the meeting, to come to those meetings. And the first one is on May 12th, which is a Tuesday, and finance committee usually meets on Thursday, so this is a special FOP meeting that starts at 5:30, but we have it broken down in that calendar about which department we're going to be reviewing on the different nights. So like we talked about with capital planning, if you're interested in something that the police department's doing or something that Public Works is doing, maybe you just want to come that night and ask your questions or learn more. So you can look at the schedule and see which nights you might be interested in, or I hope you come to all of them, right?
Right.
Hope you come to all of them and participate in the process, because the FOP committee loves to hear from the public. FOP will have several meetings to review the budget. We'll go page by page, department by department. We'll go through it all. And then at the end, they will make a recommendation to the council. And there will be, let's see, what night is their recommendation? It looks like their recommendation is on May 28th. We will start at 5:30 that night. The FOP committee will, at the end of the meeting, vote to recommend any amendments to the budget. And that will go to public hearing. And so the public hearing is on June 4th, so mark your calendars. That's at 7 p.m. That's in front of the full council, and that's the time for people to come in front of the full council and say that they support this, or they'd like to see this increased, or they'd like to see this changed, or they don't support this, whatever the topic might be. So the public hearing is a perfect time to be able to let the council know your thoughts on different parts or all of the budget, and then they will vote on the budget on June 18th. And again, that's a full council meeting, and it's a Thursday at 7 p.m. But that night is not a night for the public to speak. So if you want to speak, your opportunity really is during the FOP meetings, the finance meetings, or at the public hearing, or both. But the night of the vote, which is a regular council meeting, we'll have already done the public input piece, and it'll be a night for the council to talk about the budget and vote. Now, the council also has a deadline, so the council needs to get any recommended changes to the budget. I think it's the Tuesday before the meeting of the vote. So if the vote's on the 18th, which is a Thursday, that Tuesday of that week, I think, is their final day to submit whatever changes the council might like to see, in addition to whatever the FOP has already done in terms of making changes to the budget. The other really big project that we have coming up, and I know the council's really concerned about this project, this is the Dinsmoor Woods project. Last night, our Parks and Rec director Mueller did prepare a handout for the City Council. They really were looking for some talking points, questions that they might have received. They wanted to have like a one-stop shop to be able to get their answers. And so she did try to provide that in a handout to them last night. But we also have all this information for the public on our website. And this is the Dinsmoor Woods, which more people probably know or reference this as Maple Ave, because if you've driven down Maple Ave, you know exactly what we're talking about. The red pine trees that line the side of the road. Unfortunately, they are infested with what's called red pine scale. The only way to really address this is to remove those trees, and it's important to make sure we do it before the disease spreads even further in the city or on private property, but also while the trees have some value. So we did put this out for bid, and we did receive a contract proposal for zero cost, and so it's going to save the city a lot of money in terms of removing the trees, because the contractor is getting the value of the wood in return. And so we do have a budget right now, which will likely be utilized later on for work that we need to do to rebuild that forest. But there's a really great opportunity coming up, because I'm not the expert on this, but we do have an expert on this, and his name is Alex Barrett of Longview Forest. And he's been working with the city and coming up with a plan, and he is having a walk through Dinsmoor Woods, and it's on Saturday, April 11th at 3 p.m. So you'll actually be able to go along and ask specific questions. He'll talk about what the plan is, how it will look, and sort of what the next steps are. So I encourage anybody interested to please attend this walk. Again, it's on Saturday, April 11th at 3 p.m. in Dinsmoor Woods. Public Works would also be very upset with me if I did not put a plug in for them. You know what I'm going to say.
Do.
They are having an open house on April 16th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So this is at the wastewater treatment plant, which is at 420 Airport Road in Swansea. Yes, our treatment plant is technically in Swansea, just over the line. But this is a great time to learn a lot about the plant, which if you haven't been there, it's pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And so they will be giving tours and just talking about the upcoming capital projects that they have. And so the wastewater treatment plant is part of the sewer fund, which is a separate fund. We have a water fund and a sewer fund. And those projects that are done at the wastewater treatment plant are supported by sewer funds, which means those of us, including myself, who have water and sewer service at my house, we're paying for our quarterly usage, and those fees are supporting operations for water and sewer activities and for capital projects.
My understanding is that anyone who's gone have been so impressed. They think it's so cool to see the lab and the facilities.
Yeah.
So I think it should be a really good time.
Yeah, I think so too. The other thing that we talked about just briefly last night is an upcoming legislative delegation meeting. That meeting is on Monday, April 6th at 6 p.m. in County Delegation Hall. So we host this meeting every year. We are members of the New Hampshire Municipal Association, which I've talked about in the past. But as a member of the organization, they come down once a year and talk about bills that are crossing over. So crossing over from the House or crossing over from the Senate. And I give them some priority items to talk about at the beginning, as well as our department heads. But I'm interested in bills that would impact revenues to towns and cities or schools. I'm interested in any bills that are downshifting costs to towns and cities. And I'm interested in any bills that are solar related, because obviously we're doing a large solar project here through a group net metering program. I'm interested in bills related to human services and how we are changing any rules related to how we provide assistance in our community and how that might impact us. So really, I'm interested in things that really impact our community specifically. I try to put those towards the front, but there are so many bills. And so the NHMA will be going over a lot of bills that night. It's usually about an hour and a half, and I know it gets kind of long, which is why I try to put things we are interested in most in the front in case people leave. But we have a lot of our our delegation attend these, so it's a great opportunity just to have these conversations with them. Either they're members of the House representing us or our senator, he's going to be there as well. And so it's a really good opportunity to have those conversations. And we also are going to have the brand new BEA. So this is Commissioner Lucy Lang and Executive Counselor Karen Leo Hill in attendance as well. They're actually coming to Keene earlier in the day, and they have quite a few different activities they are participating in, meetings that they are having, in a couple of tours, and then they're going to end their night with us at that delegation meeting. So it's a really good opportunity to bend their ear, tell them what we want to see happen, how they can help us. I am going to be at a couple of different events with them during the day, and I'm most interested in telling them how the state can help us in terms of economic development. Right now, the state really doesn't give us a ton of economic development tools to work with, and I know that we're somewhat limited there, but we have some challenging sites that really are possibilities for the future. One of them is the Kingsbury site. It's a contaminated site, and so there's a bunch of different things that would need to happen to make a project work there. And so obviously I'm going to be interested in talking to them about that, as well as housing projects. The state created this Housing Champions program, and we jumped through a bunch of hoops to be considered a housing champion. Really hasn't gotten us very far, to be honest. Initially it did. We were able to participate in a couple of different grant programs, but there hasn't been a lot since then. So I will be talking about the need for more programs like that can support housing projects, because we need to find a way to not only build housing, but to build some affordable housing, additional affordable housing. When we did our housing analysis here in Keene few years ago now, the results told us back then that we need housing in all income categories. And so we see the higher income category being more represented than we do some of the middle and lower income. So we'll be advocating for programs that might make those types of housing projects possible. And we will be talking to them about some of the things that they have done to help us with projects in the community. And they helped a project on Marlborough Street, so 310 Marlborough Street, which is a housing project. So it's a mixed-use project. There are commercial activities in the bottom of the building, and then they are building on top of it to build housing. We did work with the state through BA, so I have to give them a big shout out for this, to help make that housing project happen. They helped with some of the gap financing through grant programs, and this is back when the Housing Champion program was really more in the forefront. And so we've thanked them in the past, but we'll thank them again because they were very helpful in making that happen. We are looking forward to working with the new BEA Commissioner, Lucy Lang. I think those were the major topics. There was a lot of updates last night. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those are big.
Yeah, that's some big stuff that we got.
Is there anything else that you'd like to bring up today?
I think that's it. But I did think of another speaker that we could invite.
Oh, great.
Another
Who are you
topic.
thinking?
So the council recently approved what's called the C-PACER program. And we've talked about it just briefly when it was on the agenda about what it does. But I'd love to either have Mary Bruner, our senior planner, or even someone from the Energy Committee come and talk a little bit about why that might be helpful to someone who's doing a commercial business in particular who is doing an energy project.
That's a great idea. I will reach out to them. I think Mary would be a great guest to have. She is one of the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life.
She's such a kind person as well. She's so easy to get along with. People really love interacting with her, and she's great at explaining. So whenever I need to facilitate a meeting, a big meeting, I always ask Mary, I'm like, are you free? Can you help do this? Because she's got that natural skill.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Well, I think that's a great idea. We will look forward to that conversation at one of our next episodes. I will encourage people to go to keenanh.gov/jobs and check out the open positions there. Specifically, I'm going to highlight the summer youth program. The applications are available and they will be until April 19th. And that program is for 14 and 15-year-olds in the area. They can apply to work for the city for about 6 weeks in the summer. There are a bunch of different positions available through that program, including office jobs and public works jobs and parks and rec jobs. So if you have a kiddo that's interested in building their resume, getting paid, learning some workplace skills, that's a great opportunity. Again, those applications are going to be open until April 19th. And I think if there's nothing else for today, we will wrap up and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to City of Keene in Focus. We'll see you next time.